The joy that we felt and we continue to feel from our vacation didn't necessarily come from the palm trees or the plane tickets. It came from remembering that joy just isn't found in a place, but it's carried in your heart. We'll talk about it right after this.
Let's talk about love and marriage, the way that God intended. A life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
So, too often, we wait for someday moments to feel happy. But when you learn that joy is an inside situation, you stop chasing feelings and you start cultivating gratitude right where you are. It just sounds so harmonious and just so poetic. And it sounds so chat GPT-ish. Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't know.
So, but in all honesty, though, I kind of agree in this situation where the joy that we felt on our vacation, since our vacation in Puerto Rico, it didn't necessarily come from the palm trees or the plane tickets. It came from another place for me because I didn't always take the time to enjoy the moment. And that's an internal thing. That is something that I have wrestled with, that I have struggled with, that I have been challenged with, because sometimes I get caught up in being a big picture space and want to do X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. But the reality is I had to sit down and enjoy the moment. And there was one moment for myself that I'm sitting down. I believe we spoke about it in another episode, but I'm going to tell you the reason why I am revisiting this for this on this episode, because I sat down and I found myself laying or sitting on this chair by the pool. I'm sitting in this chair and I'm looking up past the palm trees and the sun is beaming down on my face. And I don't think I've felt so loved, so comfortable, so relaxed, and in some ways really feeling like I'm being embraced by my Heavenly Father. And I haven't had that feeling in a very, very, very long time. And so I'm saying this to y'all today because even in those moments where you have that opportunity to feel his presence, to know that he's there, and now you are experiencing that even beyond that moment, here comes some moments that will throw you off. And since we've been back off of the trip, it's most definitely been challenging. And so at this time of these challenges, I am often reminded of how much God loves me and how much he loved me on that moment. And no matter what the situation is, he is always there in the moments that are good and relaxing and the moments that could be challenging. And so I am reminded of that when I'm faced with an obstacle, and we've been faced with a few, that God loves me throughout the whole situation. And not just me, but everyone who's going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that joy as I stated, didn't just come from those trees or the tickets or the trip or whatever itself. It had to come from within and being comfortable and confident and relaxed or whatever it is from within. Because a lot of times we try to find those moments of joy and love or whatever else externally versus really taking the time to understand, like, hey, do I love myself? Do I like myself? Do I enjoy my own company? Can I sit here? And I'll give you a story. Recently, Kafa and I have been, we were sitting here and we are working working on our desk, our home desk and all that type of stuff. And Kafa was, well, she normally does not help as often as I do it when touching these computer wires, but I'm touching the computer wires or whatever else, and Kafa's sitting underneath the desk. And in her sitting underneath the desk, I felt like she looked like a little girl. She really looked like she was 5, 6 years old with her little legs crossed and playing with these wires or whatever it is. And I really felt like she was at home. She was comfortable. She was chilling. I left her alone and I'm like, wow, like, look at her work. Like, or whatever. And I think it's those moments where you have to just relish in that and understand, again, God, no matter what the situation is, still be youthful, be in the moment. Understand that joy, yes, they say joy comes in the moment, but in the morning, but joy is with you even in the evening or the afternoon too, so yeah, I know I said a whole lot. It's almost 10 minutes long, but I just want y'all to know that that's just where I am right now, and that's why I wanted to tell y'all about, or expand upon that opening hook a little bit. So, but I want y'all to know Kafa is here with me.
I am. I'm just listening.
Kafa, anything you want to add? Okay, not today. So, I'm sorry. This is the Maurice show today. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Anything you would like to add?
You said a lot. I think it is a journey for one to understand and get to the place that you were speaking of. So I don't have much to say. I just have questions for you.
Go ahead. Rock out.
Like you said, years ago, you moved to and fro.
Mm-hmm.
Always planning ahead, always 2-3 steps ahead, always on the move, even when you're sitting still. Yeah.
Dancing, singing something.
Something's going on, and currently it's doing it right now. But what did it take for those that are in relationships with someone like a Maurice that's constantly thinking 3-4 steps ahead, or constantly surveying the room, constantly, you're at breakfast, but he's thinking about what are we doing for lunch, and, how are we getting back and forth, whatever, and what about next week, and, whatever the future may hold, he's thinking about those things and not necessarily, hey, this is a beautiful restaurant and enjoy the food that we have right here. Like, have you ever seen it prepared like this before? And look at the glow upon your face, and look at how the wind is blowing, and whatever it might be. He was not necessarily in that moment, in that mode, to be able to appreciate what it was at that time. I guess perhaps because he had already thought about what that was going to be, what he was going to order, where he was going to sit 2 weeks prior. So the fact that it's playing out, and sometimes maybe that's what it is, because he would always sit there, and he did even when we had gone on vacation recently. He was like, what's the word? When you see something that you've seen already.
My word is deja vu,
yes,
but I dream about it.
Yes, deja vu. So whether he's, thought about this thing before, and so maybe that's why you didn't, in the past, enjoy things at that moment, because you had already played that scene out already, and it was kind of playing out the way you had anticipated. So there was no need to relish in it with that person, or with those people that you may have been around, because you've already prescripted that conversation. You've already formulated what that moment would be like. So I think that's some of the difference. But how did you stop doing that as much to get to the point where you just shared with us how you were able to just sit and enjoy the poolside, how you were able to sit and enjoy the hand of God and feel that and not be like, oh, I felt that already. Like, I already thought about this. I knew this was going to happen. How did you get to that point?
All right. So you want me to give you a real answer or a play answer?
You can give both.
I'm going to give you the play answer first. So sometimes when we thought about going out and doing certain things or whatever, right? I had, because I'm not claiming it now, but I had a very, very weak stomach. So I had to pre-plan and pre-arrange, what places may or may not have had a bathroom break moment.
Right.
So I'm not sure how many of you have had to deal with something similar, but I know for myself, I've had to take the moment to say, you know what, we're going to go here and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And in that way, I know what my next steps are.
Right.
And I think with that being said, I was able to pre-plan or get a better idea of where I need to go and where I need to be because of my weak stomach. And so what I was getting at for those of you that are out there, have you had the same situation where you might have had to, all right, I got a weak stomach, I have other things kind of going on health-wise or whatever, what else do I need to do? Like I have a family member right now who had gallbladder removed and they can't go anywhere. They can't do anything more than really 2 miles away from their house, in all honesty. And so for me, I couldn't do breakfast for a very long time.
And that's one of my favorite things, is breakfast.
And so because I couldn't do breakfast, then that would be a challenge. So in all reality, you'd be like, well, Maurice, how'd y'all go on trips and all that type of stuff? Very cautiously, right?
We wouldn't eat until later in the day.
Right. So here's the thing though, right? So if we think about just flying, taking a moment to fly. So the only thing that I would have eaten while we're flying are our little baby biscuits that we had on the plane, right? Which was not that bad. It was enough to kind of get me by or whatever it is. It didn't solve, my hunger challenges or whatever it might have been. I wasn't hungry like that, but it wasn't like a whole meal vibe, but it was enough to get me by. But I also understood by this time, at least right now, of what it is I can or cannot eat, what it is that I can or cannot mix. So on the way home, I had, on our way to the flight and flying or whatever it is, I believe I had a Coke or something like that. And I know sometimes something like that is not that bad, but when I have something like a cranberry juice in the past, that would kind of get me all stirred up. But guess what? I had it on the way home. And so on my way home, I realized I could have this. I'll be home in a little while. If not, we got a little, whatever. And I know how to handle those situations. So in a real play situation is I got a real stomach challenge and I got to, plan myself around these potty issues or whatever. That's one part. In addition to that of sitting down and just mellowing out, we sat there, I think we ate French fries and chicken fingers. We played it safe. Yes, do we eat something the night before that might have been a little different than what I would have normally had, being the raw tuna with sesame and ginger. I mean, that thing was banging. It was delicious. And then my main course was the salmon with this butter sauce and cheese sauce, whatever. It was, again, delicious. Sometimes that sauce, that butter is too rich for my belly, and so it would throw me off. But because I was able to kind of manage it a little bit, and and understood it a little bit, and we took our time while we were at the pool, I was able to relax. And so I did not have to worry about and pre-plan all these extra steps. I mean, and we had thought about taking trips and doing a tour and all other type of stuff. Other times, like, all right, Kyle, like, we could do it. But, and I may not say 100%, I'm concerned about my belly. Or you would say it as well. Maurice, are you sure we could do it with your stomach like that? You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we both knew what the situation was. So, but I don't recall you asking any of that, whether or not we went to Atlanta or Puerto Rico, because it's been a lot better and a better balance and managed since then. It's been like that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for me to sit there and I'm just going to use that as one of my health concerns of being able to relax or whatever it is, that's something that was off my plate. So now I don't have to worry about being 5, 6, 7 steps ahead.
Okay.
I don't have to worry about, hey, we're going to decide to take this walk down the street, while we're at the conference, 3 or 4 blocks going up a hill, going down a hill, whatever it is. And for those of you, once you get closer to a place, you got to go to the bathroom, sometimes that so,
right.
And so I didn't have those experiences. Now, that doesn't mean that my stomach might not have been always 100% okay, but I will also say this as well, which I also have grown through, because you hear all the negative stories and you hear people talk about, hey, if it was me, I wouldn't go here. If it was me, I wouldn't do that, whatever it is. See, there was a point in time in life where I would take on other people's craziness. I'm not in that place anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so unfortunately that heaviness would be like on me. And so I don't have that anymore either. Nowhere near like it used to. And, glory to God, in all realness, I wear an Apple Watch, every day. And so it has shown, and Kafa, I texted it to Kafa, that since we have taken this trip to Puerto Rico and I've really learned how to relax and be more calm, cool, and collected, wherever it is, my resting heartbeat has dropped over 14 points.
Wonderful.
And so that's why I say, like, that's not but God, because I've been able to sit back and just enjoy him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, all right, my son, chill out, relax. So that's just where things are.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what I'm hearing from you, and I guess the lesson for our listeners is, you making that change, that shift of not thinking about things in advance, and allowed you to have some peace. It allowed you to have some greater connection with yourself, greater connection with those around you. And it allowed you to enjoy things a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Not being so, lack of better words, skittish about things. Like, I can think of a lot of things where we've gone out, whether as a family or as a couple, date nights or family nights, and you were always on red alert. You were always on security watch. And I think these latest trips, our latest date nights even, have been more so, not quite like it's just me and you and nobody else around. I think we're both aware that there's other people there. But we're able to be more connected and be more intentional with our conversations and with being aware of one another, and not aware of one another in the presence of, well, what else is going on? Let's be ready to, because this guy over here and that lady over there seem a little shady. recognize that, okay, there's other people around, but let's enjoy this time. If it needs to end because of some shadiness, then it'll end because of shadiness. But I can't, you weren't thinking, trying to figure out them and what they're going to do and everything else, where it took away from us. It took away from our family nights and things like that. So I think once you've experienced that and you've had that intimate moment with your family, with your partner, you begin to chase after it or seek it in other ways. So because of that feeling that you described at the top of the show, you begin to want to have that again. So as you're saying, finding contentment beyond all of these things, like you begin to want to find it again and want to find it again and want to find it again. And then you begin to find it, I think, in so many other ways. Like you don't have to go back and get on a plane and go to some exotic location to get it. You get it from just sitting right here in the studio, looking into my eyes as I look into your eyes. We can have that contentment. We can have that connection and not be worried about what's that noise, type of a thing. And somebody at the door, is the power about to go out? Whatever that might be. But just to be able to be connected one-on-one or whatever the small group might be with your family or whatever, and finding joy in that moment. So I appreciate where things have grown in our relationship and how they have grown. And I appreciate that very much.
So I think one of the of being in that let me watch out and see what's going on moments are, again, company, who else is with us, who's around us, being the kids, right? That's one thing. And then even for them in their situation, some of that is also how old are they? And so right now, because they are adults, they can pay attention and watch out just as much as I can.
Right.
And there are some things that my son will point out, well, Dad, did you see this? Because he's taller than me, and so he actually utilizes his periscope vibe, so that is something that I had to learn over a period of time. That's one. Number two, I think when it has come to you and I, if you act normal-ish, everybody else will act normal-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And so do I have to act like I'm on guard and, I don't know what's going on, yada, yada, yada. Do I have to be all crazy like that? No, I don't have to be.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that I've had to learn as well, because if people see you're nervous, they'll get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to learn that. And I think that's one of the things that has changed to a great degree of calming down, not being so skittish, as you said, not being on high alert, understanding that the kids are adults now, because you want to make sure that they're enjoying their moment, and I don't want to be so blind, that if something were to happen, they don't, I can't get people out the way. And there have been moments where, hey, what, all right, y'all, let's keep it moving, right? Without any incident to us directly, because of I'm paying attention, right? And so that doesn't mean that there wasn't an incident in that location or that place or whatever it might have been. And I can't say it was like immediately, but it might have been a little later on. But I think that's one of the things that has allowed me to all right, you can relax for a moment. Everything is okay. The only thing is that I had a challenge with was sitting on that pull chair was whether or not a helicopter or a plane or something was just going to drop out the sky and fall on me. That was the only thing I was concerned about. Why? Why are you looking at me like that? My mind went crazy, because you laying there and all of a sudden you see a helicopter. Because y'all, where we stayed at, they had a lot of helicopter tours, and so, you just see every what felt like every 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, there was another helicopter flyby, so you just sitting there like, oh wow, that helicopter ride is a little lower this time than it was last time, because I'm looking up, I'm just chilling, so I'm looking up consistently, so I'm like, oh wow. Did it look like it touched a tree? Almost touched a tree? It could have. Wait a second. Because not only did they just have helicopter rides, but it looked like they had plane rides as well. Because these were like really teeny tiny, almost look like model-esque type planes. At least that's how they looked from a distance. But anyway, again, you're just looking up in the sky and you see that coming across like, oh, that'll be interesting. So, yeah. But that was about it. I mean, beyond all the other wildlife, I mean, I think that's the other part too. When you have animals around, that's supposed to help lower your heart rate and all that type of stuff anyway. So we was in the jungle, in the zoo, in aquamarine, whatever it was, and at the pool. Like we had all the above.
I think some animals may make your heart rate increase. But
I mean, it's possible, but we didn't have that.
I guess maybe the type of animal.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a shark. It looked like some sharks in that ocean at times, but looked like a little fin every now and then. Because you said maybe, Maurice, is that a dolphin out there? I don't know what was out there.
Yeah, something.
It could have been Flipper. It could have been Jaws. Like, we don't know what was out there.
Yeah.
And so, so I think those are the type of things that, as you start to understand where you are in this life, understand what really brings you joy, understand that you need that moment to be calm, to be cool, to be collected. And what is that? What is going to bring that to you in your life? And so, I think choosing joy daily also can choose the atmosphere of your home. And it can shift the way you have conversations with your loved one. It can soften tension. And it can remind you that love and laughter are holy too. I thank y'all very much for listening today. We appreciate y'all. And we will talk to y'all a little bit later. Next time, it won't be just a Maurice show. Talk to y'all. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow.